Hey everyone, welcome back. Today I have a rare Sephora haul try on, and we're putting on our detective hats because I have the newly reformulated Dior Backstage foundation, which is probably my favorite foundation of all time, and they reformulated it, and it's very different. So this is the new one, this is the old one in the same shade, both Too Warm Olive. So we have some interrogating to do. I haven't tried it on yet, but I'm going to try it on with you. I have the new Dior Backstage foundation shade in Rosewood, and these are actually reformulated as well. I feel like not a lot of people realize that these are reformulated. They removed the talc from the formula. So this is the shade Rosewood. We're gonna try that on. And I also ordered the Tom Ford Quad, a new shade in Hazy Sensuality. And this is their wet dry formula. If you guys don't know, Tom Ford Honeymoon is one of my favorite eyeshadow palettes of all time. And I was kind of humming and hawing about this for a while, but it's such a beautiful color story. So I'm gonna try that on with you. I have a few other things as well that were sent to me in PR. I have the new Victoria Beckham Beauty brow products. This is the Baby Blade, their brow pencil, and a couple of other things that I'm gonna pick out as we go. Let's start with the foundation because I just have to know what's going on. So from the outside, there are a few notable differences. The packaging is pretty much the same. You can see here that the font here is different. This is in all caps. The amount of product in this is also the same. They're both 50 milliliters. Well, the old one says 1.6 fluid ounces. This says 1.7 fluid ounces. But still, it's a very generous size. Most standard foundations are 1 ounce. The other difference is, of course, price. The old foundation was $40 and now it's $43, which isn't a huge price difference, especially for a luxury foundation. I think that's still a good price point, but that's capitalism, baby. The old shade range used to have 40 shades and now there are 43 shades. So they have added a couple of shades, which I think is what makes the difference between these two shades being different, even though they have the same name. So for reference, my old shade is Too Warm Olive, and this is the old bottle. My new shade is Too Warm Olive that I picked up, and this is the bottle. So you can see they're different shades. At first I was wondering if like my bottle had changed color, but it's a clear bottle, or if maybe my old shade had oxidized. It's such a vast difference in color that I think, what I suspect is that they added a lighter warm olive shade, and maybe Too Warm Olive is now what used to be 3 Warm Olive. So they knocked all of the olive shades down a number. I know that's confusing, but basically the Dior numbering system goes from 0 to now 10, 0 being light and 10 being deep. The letters after each number indicate the undertone, and that's something Dior does so well. They especially do olive undertones well. That's the only thing I can speak to, but they have neutral, warm, olive, cool, cool peach, and warm peach, which is really impressive, I think, for any foundation range, but especially for luxury foundations. So my sense is that they have added a couple of deeper shades, and they've also tweaked the olive shades for sure, because you can see here again, this is the old Too Warm Olive, and this is the new Too Warm Olive. And it's much lighter, like a whole shade, I would say, lighter than the old shade. That said, this looks really promising to me and it feels really promising to me. The way the formula is moving around on the back of my hand actually feels very, very similar. The description is also still very similar to what the old foundation was, which is that it has a second skin effect with a natural finish and that it's water and heat resistant. And that's one of the key components of this foundation. It was actually designed for their Backstage collection, which is meant for runway and editorial. So it looks really skin-like while feeling skin-like, being lightweight, but also that kind of water and heat resistant quality makes it really long-lasting. And that's what I've always loved about it. So I really hope that it feels the same and performs the same on my face. I do wonder if it's gotten a little bit glowier, because they say in the description of the new foundation that it offers luminous results and a custom coverage effect from the most natural glow to a high perfection complexion. It immediately evens out and smooths the complexion, blurs imperfections for a weightless second skin finish. So we'll see about that. We'll see about the glowy quality. I'm just waiting for the swatch to set in on the back of my hand. This is the lighter side and this is the deeper side. They're still feeling pretty similar. So let's get into application. I have my regular skincare and SPF down from a couple of hours ago, but I'm not going anywhere today, so I'm just going to leave it as is. No primer. I'm gonna do half of my face applied with fingers and the other half of my face applied with a brush. Just because I am really familiar with this foundation, I know how it applies, at least the old formula, so I think I'm pretty confident I can tell how different it will feel, whether it feels different with each application. But I do want to show you like a face swatch of the different shades, just so you can see. So this is the old foundation, Too Warm Olive. Hope you can see that. And then I'm going to go in with the new foundation. It's much brighter. You can see here. So much brighter on the face, actually. That is a lot of product, though. Maybe if I wipe it down, it won't be as bright. Yeah, very different. We'll see. Let's get into application with fingers. Something I've always loved about this foundation is that the coverage is super flexible, especially when you apply it with your fingers. You can just take a drop and kind of dot it around the face. And I find that it almost goes on like a tinted moisturizer, but it's buildable in a way that a tinted moisturizer is not. So I'm just taking, that was like a generous drop. I'm moving it around with fingers, blending it in. It gets really flexible on the skin as you're kind of melting it into the skin. It's feeling very similar to the old formula, actually. And it's doing the same thing where it blurs over pores really, really nicely. I hope you can see that in the T-zone. It just kind of creates a veil over the skin. And once it sets down, that veil stays put. It's definitely giving me enough time to play with the shade and kind of maneuver it. And then at the end, I like to sort of smush it into the skin, pat in any streaks, and that will set down on its own. And it's a really beautiful self-setting foundation. I find that you can powder with this, but you don't necessarily need to. This foundation does contain alcohol, and the addition of alcohol helps that foundation set on its own. So any foundation that's self-setting, oftentimes these foundations that are blurring have a little bit of alcohol in them to help with the set down quality. You know, I'm actually not mad at this shade because I am pretty pale right now, and I have found that Too Warm Olive in the winter time, the old shade, was a little bit deep for me, and I had found myself wishing for a lighter olive tone in this line. So I'm not mad at the addition of this shade, but I kind of wish they had added it as like one warm olive because the olive shades start with Too Warm Olive, and I don't know why they moved everything down instead of just adding a new shade with a new number. I did wonder when I was purchasing this because it was called, I think, fair to light skin with warm olive undertones, and the old one used to be light to light medium skin with warm olive undertones, and now that description is what 3 Warm Olive says. I know it's super confusing. That's all to say. The shade is really nice and the undertone is really nice. Even though it's called warm olive, it's not peachy or orangey. It's more of like a golden olive. I do have a couple of spots here, so I'm going to take a little bit on my finger and just show you how this works as a spot concealer. And that's something I love about this. When you tap, you actually get higher coverage because the product stays in place, even though it's a fluid foundation. And you're able to build up coverage where you need it while still keeping it seamless with the rest of the application on your face. For the other side, I just squeezed out another generous drop onto my Merit 01 brush, and I'm applying this way both by, I don't know, with small strokes and then also kind of stippling where I need it. I'm really relieved that the finish and the performance of the foundation so far feels the same as the old foundation. It's not a glossy foundation. It is just a true natural finish. I was a little bit worried when they said it was going to be a more luminous coverage. I can see how it's luminous with a lighter application because you see more of your skin shining through, but it's definitely not a glowy foundation. Just adding a little bit more around my jawline where I need more coverage. And again, where I need coverage, I just kind of stipple it in and kind of pat it into the skin rather than smearing or gliding. It does still have the Dior fragrance. It's not any more or less scented. You do kind of get used to it. I definitely feel like I'm used to the scent and it doesn't linger on the skin, but it is there. And I know a lot of people are bothered by that. Unfortunately, most luxury foundations are pretty scented, but it does fade over time. A few things to note. I actually find that the foundation on this side is looking a little bit more matte. And I don't know if it's because I applied with a brush, but I do find, you know, when you apply with fingers, you do get a more skin-like appearance. So just a small thing to note. So that is the application. I just want to show you what it looks like with one even layer across the skin. I do feel like it's a little bit light for me. I mean, you can see compared to my arm, for example, that I'm tanner on my arm than I am with this new shade on my face. Realistically, I'm probably somewhere exactly between the old Too Warm Olive and the new Too Warm Olive. But I am happy that they've added this to the range. I think it's something they needed, and not a lot of brands do light olive shades very well, but Dior does. So if you're one of those people, you will enjoy this. A couple of things to note too, because this is a self-setting formula, I have heard people with dry skin say that the self-setting quality may catch on dry patches. So if you're flaky and you have dry patches, you may want to go for a more dewy, luminous, lotiony foundation formula rather than something fluid and self-setting. That's just a matter of preference in terms of the type of formula, but this is feeling exactly the same. I honestly don't think I would even need to powder today, but we'll see how it goes with the other products. I am going to do an all-day wear test, I think at least for 8 hours, so I'll leave the results of the wear test of everything in a pinned comment below. My final thoughts on this are that I'm pretty sure, I'm just wiping out the swatches, I'm pretty sure they added a whole new level of lighter shades because the number 2 shades used to be light medium skin and now they're described as fair skin. So I'm wondering if they just moved everything, like the old 2 shades are now 3 shades. And if they moved everything down a number, I'm gonna have to look into that. But without seeing all of the shades, I obviously can't speak to the entire shade range. So we'll see. If you work for Dior, if you're a salesperson and you have any information, please let us know in the comments because I did my best with my detective hat, but I really can't tell. Okay, since we're using the Dior Backstage stuff, let's go in with the Dior Backstage concealer just real quick. I use the shade 2W in this. I've used this many times on my channel, really like it. High coverage, but skin-like, it's lovely. I'm gonna use my Refer 36 to blend this out. I'm just gonna do around the eyes because I don't wanna mess with the face coverage too much. Taking it over my eyelids. All right, moving on to cheek products. I forgot that 1999 Beauty just released cream stick bronzers or contours. They're called cream contour sticks and cream highlighter sticks. So they sent over a couple of shades for me and I'm really excited to try these. The contour stick that they sent me is called Tea. And I'll swatch it for you here. It's a really beautiful caramely tone. It feels really thin in texture. I think I'm going to like this. And they also sent over their cream highlighter in the shade Perla. And I'm kind of surprised at how into this I am. It's a pink highlighter, which I haven't been into in a long time. But there's something about this pink that's like a pink champagne, and I think it's going to look really nice on the skin. It's definitely blingy, but I think I can sheer it out to my taste. All right, just going to go right on my cheekbones and across my forehead like that. My Refer 04 brush, which is my favorite for cream contour and bronzer. This has a bit of a red undertone to it. at least on my skin tone. So it's not orangey. It's actually a really nice contour shade. I find that red undertone contours actually do work for my skin tone. But it's still very neutral. It's not warm at all. It's a really nice tone. It's not too dewy. It's actually kind of setting into a really natural finish. And I like how spreadable it is. I find that it has a good amount of glide without being too thin or slippery. It's not a dewy product at all. It just gives you a really nice skin-like finish. Before I add highlighter, I'm gonna go in with the Dior Rosewood blush. So again, I mentioned these have been reformulated as well. There's no talc in these. And I think I know they reformulated their like entire Backstage line, and I feel like a lot of EU regulations are changing, ingredient regulations, so we are going to see even more reformulations happening. I'm not a cosmetic chemist and I don't know the specifics of that, but that's just what I've heard. So I actually haven't used the old formula because there were those two shades, the pink and the coral, and neither of those shades felt really like me shades, and now they came out with Rosewood, and it's so beautiful. It has that rosiness, but a bit of earthiness to it as well. You're not really gonna see the blush swatch, but I tried to show you a little bit there. It's pink while not being a bright pink. It's an earthy pink. So I'm going to take my Refer 05 and just sweep it across the whole pan. I'm surprised at how much product it's picking up actually. This is a natural bristle brush, so I'm just going to pat it across my cheek. This is a matte blush. It doesn't have any shimmer in it. It's not a glowy blush, but it just has like a natural skin-like finish. And I'm going to kind of be pretty generous with the application into my temple. I'm noticing that for a powder blush, this is really blendable. I'm actually really able to get some good control in terms of the pigmentation and manipulating where I want it to blend out, where I want it to be deeper. It's giving me a really nice kind of airbrushed blend. On me, it's actually pulling a little more pink than like beigey brown, but I like it. This is the kind of pink that I like to wear. It's not too cool toned. It's not too like Barbie pink, but it's still a bright pink on me. I like it. I kind of like to sweep it into my like brow bone here. And then just bring what's left on my brush across my forehead, and it gives you a really even blend. I need a little lip balm. My lips are pretty dry, and I remembered that YSL sent over their newish Rouge Volupte Candy Glaze Double Care Balm, and I haven't tried it yet, but I know they sent over like their clear shade. I really love their Rouge Volupte formula, and this is the shade 02. So it just looks like this. Very beautiful packaging as always, and this is their clear shade. Well, it's like a light pink, I guess. And these smell so good. They have a candy, like a fruity candy scent to them. It's very nostalgic. I have a couple of these in my collection that I love, but I feel like this is actually a little bit richer of a balm than I remember the formula being. So it feels like it's really coating my lips and it added some shine. All right, for the Perla highlighter, I think I'm just going to take my fingers to pick it up so I can kind of control the application and just dab it on the top of my cheek. Wow, right there. That's really pretty. It's definitely a bright highlighter. It's blingy. I'm just going to tap it out right there. Same thing here. I like that I'm able to manipulate it. It's not just sticking where I put it down and like staying in that spot, but it's still a thin balm. It's not like a sticky, wet feeling balm. All right, let's move into eyes. I'm going to use the Tom Ford Hazy Sensuality Quad. It's so beautiful. I'm just taking out the little applicators it comes with. So this has the TF imprint, which means it's their wet dry formula. I never use it wet because I'm lazy. But more importantly, this formula is a baked gelée formula. So even though it's a powder, it's a very smooth, almost silky, like satiny looking powder. And these do have a bit of sheen to them. So let me swatch this for you. That's a closer look at Hazy Sensuality. There's a light champagne, a slightly more golden champagne, this beautiful pink, and a bronzy brown. Okay, these just swatched beautifully. I'm going to build them up a little bit. So the first swatch right here is sort of an icy pink. It's very bright. And then the second swatch is a bit more golden. You can see the differences between these shades more in person, but on camera, they probably don't pick up the nuances. This pink shade is absolutely gorgeous. Look how smooth that is. It's this really beautiful mid-tone rose, but it has these micro glitters inside of it that make it twinkle. So, so stunning. And this chocolatey bronze is also just gorgeous. I really wanted something with easy everyday shades, and I specifically wanted a couple of brighter shades compared to, for example, Tom Ford Honeymoon, which runs warmer and a little bit darker. This is kind of like a cooler tone sister to Honeymoon. So let's see how this goes. I think I'm going to go in with that pink shadow. I just really want to use it all over the lid. And with these shadows, I really know exactly how they perform. They glide across the eye. They're so beautiful. I'm using the Refer 01 brush here. So let's just go right in. I'm just going to sweep that all across the eye. I also haven't used primer. I just kind of took concealer over my lid. And I haven't powdered my face either, which is kind of unusual for me, but I can get away with it with the Backstage foundation. This shade is so beautiful. There's a bit of purple to it, but it's also not entirely cool toned. I feel like there's a bit of, I don't know, warmth coming through the edges as I'm blending it out. And in person, the reflect is really stunning. Same thing on this side. This formula, because it's a baked gelée, hardly has any fallout. It's just the most gorgeous, smooth application process. I'm just kind of blending it up towards my orbital bone. I'm going to take the Refer 13 brush, which is this like tiny little brush, into the bronze shade, just to deepen up that outer corner, add a little bit of depth. I mean, these hardly take any blending. It's such an amazing formula. It's so expensive, and they've even raised the price on these. I think it was like $90. So I would wait to get it on sale either in the Sephora sale or a department store sale if you do want to try it, because the price point is no joke, but it is a gorgeous formula. These are also all really good one and done eyeshadow formulas because they kind of look different as they sheer out. You can see even on the edge of my eye, it sheers out and blends out so nicely. And it almost looks dimensional because it is a slightly shimmery shade. So the shimmer where it's more concentrated is more sparkly or reflective. And then when you blend out the edges, it becomes more muted. And then I'm going to take my teeny tiny BK Beauty 210 brush. It's like a little pencil brush. It's so cute. I'm going to take it into that really, really bright pinky shade and just pop that on the inner corner. Right there. It's super bright. It's almost silvery, but it's like a pink silver. So it doesn't look ghostly, but it definitely brightens up the eye. And then I'm gonna take the more golden champagne and I'm going to connect it here to the rest of that pink. I'm actually just gonna deepen up that pink. I wanna make sure you can like really see it in this eye look. So that's the eye look, really beautiful, elegant. I'm really surprised how much I liked this pink. I won't lie, I bought this palette for the champagnes, but I'm really into this look. I don't have a new mascara, so I'm going to apply that and come back for brows and lips and to finish off the look. All right, mascara's on. I just opened a brand new tube of the Victoria Beckham Beauty Future Lash, which is one of my all-time favorite mascaras. It's a tubing mascara. It's so good. It creates a really lovely fluttery lash. And I pulled that out because I am using the Victoria Beckham Baby Blade. I think that's what it's called, Baby Blade. And they sent over 2 shades in medium brown as well as dark brown. So these are really nice. I've already used medium brown once, but I did ask them to send over 2 shades just so I could show you. So they look like this. They're a brow pencil with a spoolie at one end and a very, very fine teardrop shaped pencil on the other end. And I've used teardrop shape pencils before, but this is even tinier and even skinnier than any of the ones I've tried. So let me just show you the colors so you can see what the difference is like. And I think there are 5 or 6 shades in this range. All right, so I've got dark brown here and medium brown here. Medium brown is a bit warmer and dark brown is a much ashier tone. I have used medium brown. I think I might try dark brown today. It is a bit deeper than I usually go, but because this is so fine of a point, you're able to get a really controlled application and draw on hair-like strokes. So I like to kind of turn it on its side. And I forgot to mention, I have a clear brow gel down already, my Benefit 24-hour brow setter, just to set the brows in place. And then I'm going to go for a really natural, fluffy brow today. I hope you can see the fine strokes that I'm able to get. It almost is as fine as like a brow pen, but it's a softer look than a brow pen because it's not quite as pigmented. Something I like about this is that it's kind of this like matte waxy pencil. It's not too powdery. So I feel like it actually keeps its point, its fine point, as you're working the product into the brows. And it also doesn't blend out into too powdery of a brow look. It allows you to keep definition. And, you know, brow products are products we go through really quickly. So a lot of times, you know, a drugstore brow product does make sense, but I don't know, every once in a while you get a brow product where you're like, oh wow, I really see the difference in quality and in formula. And I think this is one of those brow products. It's just performing so well. It's giving me so much control and precision. All right, that's eyes and brows done. Let's move on to lips. I really want to lip swatch these for you. These are the espresso, what are these called? They're aroma light lipsticks. They're a sheer lipstick. It's such a beautiful formula. I have reviewed their full pigment lipstick before, but these I like even better. So espresso, one of their signature things is that their products smell like coffee, and these shades are really, really stunning. So let me swatch these for you. All right, I have 4 shades. I have kind of a mocha brown, a dusty rose, a red, and a wine-colored berry. They look like this. They're so cute, and I don't know if you can see the imprint right there, but it says O. Very, very cute. So the first one is called Confetto. It's O1 Confetto. And these are a really thin formula. They're not too pigmented and they're a little bit waxy. And what I mean by that is that they're not like tinted lip balms that are melty and thick. They're just a really thin sheer lipstick. Next, I have the shade O2 Baba, and this is that like brownie nude shade. So beautiful. You can see how sheer these start, and then you're able to build up the pigment. And I really like that control. Then I have shade number 3, Ragu. And this is a really beautiful sheer cherry red. It's a little bit more pigmented just because it's a deeper shade. And then I have the shade 04 Wine Me. And this is that wine colored berry toned shade. Oops. Sorry, can't get that angle. That is Wine Me. So you can see there's a really nice range of tones and undertones here. And maybe I'll just lip swatch them for you because it's easy. They're sheer, so it's low commitment. I'll go in order. So this is Confetto 01. These actually really remind me of the Gucci sheer lipsticks. Not the shine lipsticks, but the sheer lipsticks that come with the floral tube. Because these are a little bit meltier, a little bit balmier slightly, but they're both really sheer and comfortable on the lips, but they're not a thick formula. So this is a great everyday shade. Again, that's 01 Confetto. Then I've got the shade 02 Baba. And this is your beigey brown toned nude. And for me, this is like my favorite kind of nude. This shade has really surprised me. I think it's a great summer shade because it's this beautiful pop of red without being a full on red lipstick. And personally, I think sheer red lipsticks are really underrated. And then lastly, I've got 04 Wine Me. And this is also just so stunning. So that is Wine Me, and I think it's a really beautiful kind of jammy sort of shade. It's so stunning. I kind of want to go back to the sheer red just because that's a color mood I'm really into right now. So I'm going to switch over back to that. I guess that doesn't really go with the pink, huh? Maybe I'll mix in a little bit of that first shade, the pink shade Confetto. Yeah, I'm into that. You could also pair these with a lip liner if you want a little bit more definition. So here are those shades. So gorgeous. All right, that is the finished makeup look. I feel like that was kind of a chaotic get ready with me and makeup try on, mostly because the Dior foundation question is still very much a question. But if I get any new information about it or learn anything, I'll definitely let you guys know. I know a lot of you guys have loved this foundation as well. But I'm happy to say, on the skin, it's performing formula-wise almost exactly the same. I haven't even powdered it and it still looks so good and skin-like. Going into the summer, I definitely would powder it a little bit around the T-zone. But again, I'll leave a pinned comment letting you know how everything wore. I don't suspect anything will be that funny or act up because, again, I know this foundation, I know this eyeshadow formula, the cheek products look really nice and I don't see them moving around or fading too much. But keep an eye out for that pinned comment. If you have any other questions, let me know and I will see you in the next one. I hope you found this helpful. And of course, if you did, I'd love for you to subscribe and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.